In May 1940, with Nazi Germany sweeping across Europe, Britain stood alone. France had fallen, the United States had yet to join the war, and Hitler's forces loomed across the English Channel. One of Churchill's first crucial tests was the Battle of Britain. Night after night, the skies above London roared with the drone of German bombers. The Blitz had come, and with it, a storm of fire and steel that tore through the heart of Britain. Buildings crumbled, streets turned to ruin, but the British spirit stood unbroken. In the underground stations, families huddled together, their resolve forged in the darkness. And above them, Winston Churchill walked the shattered streets, defiant against the destruction. He stood among the people, not as a distant leader, but as one of them.
We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans.
Through the fire and the fear, Britain endured. The Blitz had tested the soul of a nation, and under Churchill's unyielding leadership, it had refused to bow. Before we get to the historical battles of Normandy, or the famous battles in the skies of Europe, we go back to Victorian England. Born in 1874 to a wealthy aristocratic family, Winston Churchill's early years were marked by struggle and determination. A rebellious student, he found his calling in the British Army, serving in India, Sudan, and South Africa. His bravery on the battlefield foreshadowed the bold leader he would become. We pick back up with Britain, against all the odds, defending its borders from a German invasion. The Royal Air Force, with Churchill's full support, held back the German Luftwaffe. He knew that air superiority would be the key to survival. With strategic air defenses and the groundbreaking use of radar, Britain repelled the assault. But victory in the skies was not enough. The Atlantic was a graveyard of Allied ships, with German U-boats cutting off vital supplies. Churchill masterminded the development of convoy systems, sonar technology, and long-range aircraft to counter the submarine threat. Slowly, the tide turned, ensuring Britain's lifeline remained intact. While Winston Churchill stood as a pillar of strength for Britain, behind the scenes, he carried the immense weight of war on his shoulders. The pressures of leadership during the darkest days of World War II took a significant toll on his personal life and mental well-being. Though he projected unwavering confidence in public, privately, he battled periods of deep depression, what he called his black dog. These moments of despair were often triggered by heavy losses on the battlefield, the relentless destruction of British cities during the Blitz, and the uncertainty of victory. With Britain secured, Churchill revised his strategy and sought to strike the axis of power. He saw the Mediterranean as the soft underbelly of Hitler's empire. His decision to reinforce Egypt and counter Germany's Africa Corps at El Alamein proved important to victory, marking the first major land defeat for the Nazis and an emphatic win for Britain. As the war expanded, Churchill understood the necessity of alliances. Though often at odds with American President Franklin Roosevelt and Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, he navigated diplomacy with skill, securing crucial aid and coordinated attacks. His greatest gamble came with the planning of D-Day. The Normandy landings on June 6, 1944, were among the most ambitious military operations in history. Though he initially doubted its success, Churchill lent his full support, ensuring meticulous planning. Operation Bodyguard, designed to mislead German defenses, was the first offensive plan of its kind. A master of military strategy and deception, Churchill played a pivotal role in orchestrating Operation Bodyguard, the elaborate deception campaign that ensured the success of the D-Day landings. Understanding the importance of misdirection in warfare, Churchill worked closely with Allied commanders and intelligence agencies. Their goal: to craft a multi-layered scheme designed to mislead the German High Command about the true location and timing of the invasion. Operation Bodyguard included several sub-operations, such as Fortitude, which created the illusion of a massive force preparing to land in Pas-de-Calais, and Glimmer, which used radar interference and dummy ships to divert German defenses. Churchill's leadership and strategic foresight ensured that Hitler remained fixated on false threats, allowing the real invasion force to land in Normandy with reduced resistance. At dawn on June 6, 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history began. Under the cover of darkness, thousands of Allied ships crossed the English Channel, carrying over 156,000 troops toward the heavily fortified beaches of Normandy. As the first landing craft hit the shore, German machine guns opened fire, tearing into the waves of soldiers storming the beaches. Despite devastating losses, the Allies pushed forward, overcoming beach defenses, scaling cliffs, and securing vital footholds. Paratroopers who had dropped behind enemy lines hours earlier disrupted German reinforcements, while naval bombardments and air support weakened enemy positions. By nightfall, the Allies had established a tenuous but crucial beachhead, marking the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. D-Day was a brutal, chaotic, and costly victory, but it was the turning point that spelled the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The end was near. With Allied forces closing in from the west and the Soviets from the east, Germany surrendered in May 1945. Victory in Europe had been achieved, but the war had taken its toll. Parts of Europe were virtually uninhabitable after years of fighting, and relationships between some countries remained fragile. The war was over, but what the future held was not certain. On May 8, 1945, the war in Europe was over. Victory in Europe was met with an eruption of joy across Britain. The streets of London were a sea of Union Jacks, a nation exhausted by war finally breathing in the air of peace. In Westminster, Churchill stood before a jubilant crowd, his iconic cigar in hand, flashing his famous V for Victory sign. But beneath the celebration lay the weight of 6 long years of struggle. Britain had endured bombings, sacrifice, and loss, but it had prevailed. As Churchill addressed the nation, his voice, filled with both triumph and solemnity, reminded them that while victory had come, the road ahead would not be easy. For the man who had led Britain through its darkest hour, this was the moment that would define his legacy. Despite his wartime heroics, Churchill's leadership came at a cost. In the 1945 general election, he was voted out of office as Britain sought a new path forward. If you have made it this far to the end of the video, I would like to thank you all. As we approach the 80th anniversary of VE Day in Europe, we should remember those who so selflessly gave their lives for us all. Please like, share, and subscribe. For more short films and biographies, leave a comment in the comment section for a topic or personality you would like us to cover.